Hey guys, Andre here with an explanation and a word of caution about how save states work on the Super NES Classic, because I've already seen some people online a bit confused with how they work and ended up losing progress in the games they're playing because they didn't fully understand what was going on with the suspend points. So I wanted to give a quick recap and make sure you knew what was going on so you don't make the same mistake. Okay, so one of the coolest things about the Super NES Classic, like with the NES Classic before it, is you can make up to 4 suspend points for each game, allowing you to resume exactly where you left off. But this is where things can get a little bit complicated, because every game also allows you to save to the game directly as if you were playing on the cartridge itself. So if we take a look at Donkey Kong Country here, I have no suspend points for it, but if we hop right on in, once we get through the intro here, you can see that we can pick up from where we saved in the game itself, being a candy save point right here. So the games do function just like the original games in that sense, and that you can treat them just like the original games and save at the in-game checkpoints and continue on from there. But on the Super NES Classic, you can also save anytime you want by hitting reset, including during a boss battle, going down and saving that exact suspend point. So we'll save it and we can hop right back in where we left off at, right as we get hit. Perfect. That was a great use of it. But alternatively, if we wanted to, we could click on the cartridge itself and pick up again from the save point we made in the game. And there we are. Okay, so that makes sense so far, right? Whenever you click on the game's box art, it uses the cartridge's built-in save file based on where you saved it last using the in-game mechanic, in this case being candy save point, whereas the suspend points allow you to pick up exactly where you left off at, based on any of the 4 that you set. So it's pretty simple so far, and in this case there's not much of a difference between the built-in save point that we made, a candy save point, and the suspend point because they're at pretty much the exact same location. Now if we head over to Super Mario World, things get a little bit more complicated because we have 4 different suspend points, all at slightly different parts in the game, and we're going to show off something that you may not fully realize. But before we do so, let's go and hop into the game itself so you can see exactly where we left off at according to the in-game save, or the in-cartridge save I should say. And that is with 2 levels beaten. And that is at the Yellow Switch Palace, which is one of the few places in the game you can properly save at. So let's go ahead and hit reset. We'll go back to the main menu here. And let's go ahead and load up one of these earlier suspend points. Like the one from the very first one here with a time of 0 minutes. So we're going to load it up. And this one has literally no levels beaten. We quit the game after starting and didn't beat any levels. So as you're going to see, we're going to hop in here and pretty much nothing is done. So let's go and hop back out. And let's hop back into the cartridge save now by clicking the box art. And our save file is gone. We don't have 2 levels beaten anymore. The suspend point overrode our cartridge save with whatever the progress was in the suspend point itself. So yeah, you can see how that can lead to some pretty ugly situations if you're not paying attention. Now luckily, the Super NES Classic does throw up a warning if the suspend point will override the in-game progress. So in this case, I actually have a suspend point from the previous cartridge save at the Switch Palace, and as you can see, it's warning us that that suspend point will override the now cartridge save point, which is actually fine in this case, but that's what we want. We want that later point at the Yellow Switch Palace. So if you go back now, go back to the main menu, it's now going to treat that as a proper cartridge save, and it's no longer going to warn us about overriding it with that one. But now the earlier ones is going to warn us about it again, because those will override it back to the earlier progress. So yeah, you need to be very careful of that, of what you're doing and how you're playing these games, because it is so easy to lose progress. Especially if you're bouncing between using the in-game save and the suspend points. So ultimately, my advice would be to use one or the other. If you want to play these games in the purest way possible, use only the built-in saves, don't even worry about the suspend points. But if you want to switch over, that's totally fine. I would just then start using suspend points instead. And if you want to be really safe, just double up. Anytime you use an in-game save, use a suspend point as well. But even that can get a little bit confusing. Take this for example. So we already overrode the cartridge save with the one we wanted to, being the Yellow Switch Palace one right here that I've highlighted. But check this out, because this one's not throwing up a warning either, despite that one being farther in the game. So let's go and load that one up. We beat another level, not a big deal, but just pretend we're a few worlds in if you want. So we're a little bit farther in the game, and we go back to the main menu here. Keep in mind that the cartridge save now is reflective of that suspend point, but it's not warning us if we go back to the earlier one at the Switch Palace, even though that later level isn't beaten. And that is because despite this being farther in the other suspend point, according to the in-game cartridge save, they're at the exact same points because we weren't able to save in-game to accommodate for that progress, just because of how saves work in Mario World, we can only save at set intervals. So yeah, this is why you have to be really careful. So once again, strongly recommend sticking with one of the other cartridge saves or suspend points and just going with that the whole way. Or if you want to switch over to suspend points, totally fine. Just keep in mind which ones you're using and stick with using them and use it whenever you leave off and pick up where you left off at. Because I myself had a similar issue in Star Fox 2, where I lost my built-in high scores on the cartridge itself because I loaded an earlier suspend point. So yeah, it can get a little bit confusing, but as long as you pay attention and you keep an eye out for those warnings that tell you that you're going to override progress, you should be okay. But I wanted to make this warning just because I saw some people having issues with it, and that warning is pretty easy to ignore if you're not paying attention. So hopefully this helps you out and prevents you from losing any in-game progress when you don't want to. And with that, thanks for watching. Of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for lots more on the Super NES Classic and everything else Nintendo as well. Catch you later. Bye.